Hi, this is Dr. Thomas Rocco from CBD Health Podcast. Today's guest is Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas is the owner of Lowcountry Gold. Lowcountry Gold CBD is based out of South Carolina. Dave wants to talk about not only his organic product of CBD, but everything else that is put into his product, packaging, glassware is as organic. Dave, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with me on CBD Health Podcast. Thanks for
Good.
taking some time out and speaking with me.
No
How are you
problem.
doing?
I'm doing well. It's a gorgeous day in South Carolina.
I'm in Rhode Island now. It's you know what it is. It's amazing. The weather today is just overcast and raining, and I feel like the whole area is in blah land today. So
Right,
I
right.
think they all need a little CBD. I think that's what help them all.
There you go. There you
Well,
go.
so again, this is you are in charge or own Low Country Gold.
Yeah, so we're a grower and processor here in South Carolina. I live in Charleston, South Carolina.
Mhm.
We have a farm that's about an hour away in a little area called Santee. We've got 119 acres and a 10,000 square foot greenhouse. We started the project in 2020 and took us about 2 years to bring our products to market. So we're a new player on the scene, which is a very crowded scene, as you
It
know.
is a very crowded scene, and it's so 3 years, and it sounds like you're doing well after 3 years. Because when I first got into medical marijuana 10 years ago, and then CBD, in terms of educating myself 4 or 5 years ago, it seemed like a pretty much a money grab. But I think things are getting much better. Companies are making it better. They
Correct.
are doing the right regulations. They're testing it. And speaking to the people to learn more about it myself, it seems like we're going in the right direction. But for you to do that in 2 or 3 years is pretty impressive,
Well, it was a challenge with the COVID and the
right?
supply chains on the greenhouse and things like that. But we're finally here. So we're new and we're trying to get our place in the market and tell people about our product. We're USDA organic certified. So I've
Great.
I've got 90 acres of USDA certified land out on the property, and one reason we were able to do that, well, why you don't see a lot of farmers going organic is that the ground has to be fallow for 3 years. You can't have put
Is
any
that right?
yeah
Wow.
put any chemical fertilizers or pesticides or anything on the ground. So when we bought our property, luckily it hadn't been farmed for about 10 or 15 years, so it was easy for us to start organic from the beginning, and we didn't have bad habits or anything like that to go with. So we got the farm certified organic, and then we also have our processing certified organic also.
Wow.
And so that, along with the organic component, our packaging, we have an attractive packaging that we put together, and so we're trying to um, you know bring medicine to the people.
Right, right. Is it
Can't say
more right,
that.
right? Is this more of a currently, are you more local in terms of retail and wholesale, or have you gone more nationwide?
So the website's obviously nationwide, and we pick up a few sales from out west and things like that. One of the partners is from Colorado, so we kind of got a little Colorado thing going on
Right,
there and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're locally. I'm doing farmers markets on the weekends and
right.
that kind of stuff. I've got some people helping me with marketing, and we're doing some interesting partnerships with like a restaurant that's using our natural flavored
Great.
tinctures in brownies. So it's kind of a retro brownie with CBD instead of THC, right?
Right,
So
absolutely. No kidding. So tell me, I don't know the medical marijuana laws or the marijuana laws in South Carolina. Is it legal there?
no, it is not legal here. They tried last year. There was a bill.
Mhm.
This year there was a bill. The legislature got out in April. They kind of pushed it to next year. That's like a 2-year cycle here on their
Right,
legislative bills.
right.
Um, there's a lot of support, obviously, but we are in the South, and there's a lot of resistance to it, also. Georgia, it looks like Georgia's getting their medical program going. It's around us,
Right,
Virginia, Kentucky,
right, right,
Florida, so it's coming,
right,
and one of our hopes is that we'll be kind of positioned if and when it does come to South Carolina,
right,
to
right.
help with
In
that.
New England, all the states in New England obviously allow CBD use, but marijuana is both recreational and medical. So if you have a card, it's different in terms of pricing and how you get it. But
Right,
this,
right.
all these states are all, I honestly think that a card in our area should be able to be used in all the states. Just, like
Yeah, make a universal
make
card,
it universal. I'll hopefully get to
right?
that. So what's more interesting is how you got into this. Reading on your website, your story, you had some life-changing surgery. You've done so many different things.
Well,
You're almost like Forrest Gump. You've done a whole and think like to go from like working in a casino, then being a Montessori school teacher, and then traveling the world, real estate magnate. I mean, you've done so many different things.
I guess I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So
That's okay.
that's kind of my problem. So yeah. So my last career, we have my wife and I and a partner have some Montessori schools in the Charleston area, and I was doing that for many years, I got we had a sister school in Ghana that we had set up with in Ghana, and I was getting ready to go over there on a trip, and I had a serious cut on my leg, and I was worried about infection. I didn't want to get an infection over there, and went into the doctor, and they took a blood test, and my liver levels were all whacked out,
Right.
and so we started researching that, and it turned out that I had A1T1, which is a very rare liver disease.
Very
And
rare.
within a year, I had a liver transplant.
Wow.
I went downhill very fast, and luckily Charleston has one of the experts on T1, alpha one
You're lucky,
trypsin
right?
in the Charleston area. So I was under his watch for a while,
Was your donor somebody you knew from the family, or was it a cadaver?
it was a cadaver. The medical university down here only did cadavers. So yeah, it's I
How
mean,
long ago was that?
so that was be 3 years ago.
Good for you. Wow.
3 years
So
ago.
you're
So
starting this company and doing a liver transplant at the same time.
well, so when I was recouping from my liver transplant is when I started doing all my research.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple other factors. I'm from Northern Nevada, Reno, Nevada. We had a ranch out there, and in 2018, of course, the Farm Bill legalized hemp. And my brothers on our ranch, we said, well, let's try some hemp, and so they grew some hemp. Um, Typical farmer story, did not have a market for it. It's probably still sitting in a barn somewhere.
Right.
Because everybody got into the CBD hemp market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and along with that, my oldest son was living in Portland, Oregon, and he was working with a very large CBD company out there. And so while I was recuperating, when you face a life-changing experience, you kind of reevaluate where you're going, what you want
Sure.
to do, and that kind of stuff. And so I started researching the hemp plant, and not just the CBD and the medical uses for cannabis, but the hempcrete,
Right.
paper,
Right.
I mean,
There's so many
graphene,
different. Right.
just the thousands of uses for
Mm-hmm.
the hemp plant. And in doing all my research, I figured out, well, the CBD something, and it seems like the successful guys are the ones that are growing it, processing it, and then coming bringing it to market themselves. And,
Right.
and it was my son's company what was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look at my brothers who didn't have a buyer, so I figured, well, let's do this a little differently.
Right.
So I put together about 6 or 7 of mainly friends, and we all invested in this, and from the very beginning, our goal was USD organic
Right.
certification. We felt that was important for us. We process a little differently than everybody else. So we actually will take the plant, buck the flowers off the plant, immediately freeze the flowers, and then we'll take that frozen flower and we put it into ice water and agitate the ice water, and the trichomes will then sink to the bottom. We filter those out. You get what the material is called bubble hash from the cannabis base, and we take that material, freeze dry it, and then it's kind of like a sugary substance, and then we'll put that in a bag and run it through the rosin press.
Right.
I'm using heat and pressure, and then we pull out our oils that way, and combine them with all organic ingredients to make our, we have a typical tinctures in 3 flavors. We've got a balm, we've got gummies, of course. Gummies are everybody. The world's going to go to gummies, right? We'll get all our nutrients.
No kidding. So true. So true.
So I've got a lotion. I've got gallons and gallons of lotion, but I'm having issues with my little pump, for the dispenser. So we don't have that on market yet. So, but
it's interesting. Your process is a little different. As I try to explain to people, the expense of it is it's not easy to make, and there's a stepwise correct way of doing it to get the best product. Do you think the way you freeze it and you put it, I guess you said bubble hash, do you feel like it makes it more concentrated?
Well, I mean, the final product is the same. It's 89%, 90% CBD when you're done with it. The connoisseurs, I guess, in the cannabis world would say that this is, we're not using the ethanols with it, or high pressure or CO2 or anything like that. It's an inefficient process.
But who says using when you say use alcohol and CO2, it sounds like what you're doing is more natural and actually less chance of any problems with your product.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's a very simple process. Our lab. The fire department does not come in and inspect our lab. We have no flammable materials.
Right. That's great.
No high pressure equipment that's going to blow up on you or anything like that. So, but it is an inefficient process. Our return, per pound of hemp is going to be less than somebody who's using ethanol to process it or something like that. So we're actually still looking for the best strain of plant to where the trichomes are the optimum because what happens when we freeze it, the trichomes are frozen. We're actually mechanically shearing the trichomes off of the bud that way. So we're looking for the optimal trichome shape to get the most efficient process. So we're still kind of, strain searching right now in the CBD world. For that. So
it's interesting. So it does seem like more of a natural process, honestly.
Yeah, I like to think so. So pretty simple,
So do you think that the climate in South Carolina is the right climate for growing hemp?
So we grew outdoors 2 years, and we battled bugs and all sorts of critters. We don't grow outdoors anymore. So we do all greenhouse growing. It's just simpler. It's easier to control the environment. We don't grow in the summertime because the greenhouse is too hot. It costs too much money to try and cool it down. So the weather down here is great for growing stuff. I mean, it grows outside, but you're because we're organic, you cannot use the same kind of bug deterrents that you would use on of course, hemp and cannabis anyway. There's very few pesticides you can use anyway.
Right. So I mean, you're really truly organic. Like reading no ethanol, no CO2 extraction, and you're not using pesticides because you're doing it indoors.
Correct.
You can't get more of a safer product than this, right?
We like to think so. So our testing. Yeah, I mean, when you look at our testing results, we not only do we have our cannabinoids listed, but we've got our heavy metals. All of those. Our test results on our website are like 3 pages long because of, we hunt for the cannabinoids, we hunt for the heavy metals and other factors, which which we don't have.
Wow, so you're 3 years in. It sounds like you're going in the right direction. Are there any other companies or farms that are growing hemp in South Carolina? I think you're the first I've ever spoken to.
There's a few of them. There's not down here where it seems to be going is more into using it for fiber, growing the hemp fiber. I know there's some, that's where a lot of these farmers that got into it first for CBD, that want to continue, a lot of them lost money. There was a great shakeout in farmers, and I think South Carolina, there's less farmers than there were a year ago, less people getting licensed. So it appears in the South that there's, at least in South Carolina, people are starting to head towards fiber and those kind of uses, which obviously is a different type of cannabis
Totally
plant.
different. Totally different.
10 feet tall.
I honestly didn't know anything about the fiber aspect, because as being in the medical field,
right.
So the hemp, it's a medicine. And then you find out it was used for so many other things before. We were smoking it and using it for oils and gummies.
Yeah,
been around forever.
Right. I've heard a theory from somebody out of Colorado that, humans developed with cannabis plant in their lives for tens of thousands of years. There's recordings in China 10,000 years ago. And when cannabis became the evil weed that they tried to make it in the 30s and 40s, and cannabis is taken out of our human experience, that people start to get sick. So whether that's true or not, that's obviously it was somebody very enthusiastic about hemp and CBD.
Right, absolutely. No, I mean, I love knowing about it because it gives my patients another option for their care. The side effects are so minimal, if any, and it's just a nice option for patients that want to try something different. And I'm really comfortable advocating for it, recommending it. It's a good option. Unfortunately, it's not something that most medical doctors know about and really recommend because they don't have no expertise. So the one thing that's very coincidental for you is you had a liver transplant, just so you know, that CBD is metabolized in the liver.
Right.
But I think it's I think it's a very safe drug. Because it's more, if you take too much of it, your body gets rid of it. It's
right.
I'm worried about overdosing or anything. Like, I think Tylenol is more of a worse issue. Overdosing on Tylenol, you go into liver failure. It's an issue.
Right. I've ironically, because of my anti-rejection medicine, I can no longer take CBD.
Is that right?
It's they told me, don't eat grapefruit because of the
right.
And CBD, from some of the stuff we've been reading, is that it's kind of the same caution.
Right. Grapefruits are metabolized by the same enzyme systems as CBD.
Right. So it affects the effect of the program on my system. I gotta believe, because I've been listening to you for the last couple of weeks, getting ready for this, is that I gotta believe it might help the program if the studies were done on how to the two can mix together, right?
Right, exactly. I think you're definitely safe to use a topical. I don't think that would be an issue at all. And that's I have a lot of patients, they worry about certain things. I mean, just start a topical. Those might be the best things for you.
There all the time.
But I still think, we use it at such a low dose to start. I still think it could have a role. I don't think you'd have to take a lot of it to really put stress on your liver. But I understand what your liver transplant surgeon's saying and the medical doctors, like, it's metabolized by that organ. We don't want to stress it any more than it already is happening.
Correct. Right. Yeah.
So.
And I've obviously when we've been taste testing and things like that, I'll use it, but on a regular basis, I'm not a regular user anymore.
It's unfortunate, but that really is the ironic thing.
Right. Well, and what you're doing is so important because, a lot of these doctors, are, like you said, you don't get it in medical school, and there's not, you know, so we need more people.
Right. There's not enough training for it, and that's
Right.
unfortunate. But I
Right.
think in time it's going to happen. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like medical marijuana was really, or even marijuana wasn't spoken about a lot when I was in medical school over 30 years ago. And I think they're starting to broaden the horizon for these doctors. They have to. And I truly believe the medical aspect of marijuana is having CBD in the marijuana
I
because
agree.
that's the
Yeah.
non-psychoactive form. That's the part of the cannabinoid that doesn't directly affect our immune system. It does indirectly and kind of boost our immune system so it works better. And I definitely think THC has a role, but it's best when it's THC and CBD together, and you get
I
more of a
agree.
medicinal effect. So
Yeah, I've heard many anecdotal stories like that where people have, it's the combination of the two is really, especially for people in extreme pain and that kind of
right,
stuff.
right.
It really works
I
for.
spoke to a woman today. She was asking me about just sleep, and she was taking a THC gummy. I said, add some CBD. Take a capsule with it, 30 milligrams with that. It is going to make it so much better. You're going to not be as kind of like that high, and you're going to
Right.
still get the same effect. And she called me this morning. She said, my tremors are better, and I slept really good last night. So
Good.
it's just
Great.
this just little things, little education. And most of it for me is not, it's no clinical trials. It's just talking anecdotal experiences with patients that I talk to. So
Right. Right.
so it's kind of, I think it definitely has a role. But you're definitely doing a great job. So again, this is Low Country Gold. This lowcountrygold.com. So your website, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Um,
This whole area through the Charleston area and down towards Savannah and that whole area is all called the Low Country. So it's
so when you say low country, it's a southern portion of South Carolina.
correct. Correct. Yeah.
Is it low because it's low to the sea level? Because I mean Charleston's gorgeous.
Yes, yeah, no, it's low. Downtown Charleston, we had the full moon and a high tide last night. There's parts of downtown Charleston that are floating.
Is that
So,
right?
oh
Does that
yeah,
happen a lot?
yeah. When a full moon and a big tides, so they get. There's certain areas where even in some of the tourist areas, you'll see people with little kayaks down there floating around.
Are
So
you kidding me?
no,
I
it's a
didn't.
problem,
When I think about it, when I think of something like that, I think about New Orleans. I do not
Right.
think of Charleston about like that.
Yeah, no, and it's an issue they're having to face, like most coastal areas now,
Right, right.
unfortunately. But hey, if we plant a lot of hemp, we can, take CO2 out of the atmosphere. That's
There you
something that's
go.
coming in the hemp industry where these carbon credits. I've been kind of following that a bit. Because the hemp plant does it takes so much. CO2 out of the atmosphere. It cleans up soil. I know in Europe they're using it to clean up toxic waste in soils because and that's why it's important that your CBD that you do have the test results because a lot of that if the hemp's grown in an area where there's heavy metals or things like that, it's all going to be taken up into the plant.
So you should be getting a tax write for environmental,
Right,
goodness, right? Doesn't it?
that's right. So, well, we believe in it. Our packaging's hemp paper
Is that
and
right? I did.
yeah,
See, I was noticing you mentioned something about packaging. So
yeah.
everything's made through the hemp. So everything's really. I mean, even when you receive it, that's as organic as the medicine. Yeah,
We
your
hope
package
so.
is recycled. Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
from
The glass
from
is
hemp paper.
recycled, and yeah, it's a 50% hemp paper. We found
So you like fully organic when you think about it. Yeah, your
we're
products.
trying. We're trying. My business cards are hemp, and so we're doing the best we can to support hemp.
So Low Country Gold, fully organic from the packaging to the glassware to the product. That's pretty good.
We're it's a crowded field. You got to stand out somehow.
Right, right,
That we're trying to, we're not the cheapest, but we're not the most expensive either. So we're
right,
trying to find some common
right.
ground.
I always worry when somebody says they can sell the cheapest. You're wondering where they're cutting corners somewhere.
Correct,
You
correct.
really like the most, like anything, the most expensive thing isn't always the best.
Right.
And usually the cheapest thing is not the best. You got to get the in between,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
So it looks like you're doing that really well. All right. All right, Dave. I appreciate your time. I got to go back to my patients. As
Well,
I tell everybody,
appreciate you having me on, and
you're
like I said,
welcome.
been listening to your show for the
I
last couple of
appreciate it.
weeks, and I've been learning a lot, just like
Good.
you. So,
I appreciate it. And great. I mean, like I said, good luck. I mean, you had great surgeons down in South Carolina. You look great.
thank you.
Um,
I feel good.
do whatever they tell. I totally understand them telling you not to take the CBD. They don't want anything harmful to that organ.
Well, that's why I want you to do a little more research on that, and then let
I
me know.
will. I will. I will. I'll keep in touch. I'll send you the links once I get it all done, which would be
Appreciate
soon.
it. All
And
right.
then we'll talk again. All right,
Great.
Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Take
Take
care.
care.